Hello, this is Mrs. Story, and I'm going to explain how to write a rhetorical analysis paragraph using sweep. And we are going to do this for the Gettysburg Address. By this time, the Gettysburg Address should be very familiar to you. You've spent some time looking through each of the 3 paragraphs in this very short but memorable and valuable speech. And I'm going to look at what makes this speech so memorable. How does he use this discussion at this very somber and solemn occasion of dedicating this field where so many have already died to this larger message about democracy and freedom of the people, by the people, and for the people? How does he appeal to the emotions of his audience, which we know is a group of maybe some soldiers, some family members, and how does he connect with them? How does he build on this automatic ethos of being President of the United States to try to bring unity to this group of people? So we are going to look at some strategies for how you can choose one of the strategies that he uses to be persuasive and write about it. So here's the prompt that you're dealing with. 4 months following the Battle of Gettysburg, a memorial service was held on the site to commemorate the battle and honor the dead. Although not the featured speaker, Abraham Lincoln, who offered a far briefer speech than had been anticipated, used the occasion to define the purpose of the war and to renew the North's commitment to the struggle. Read the address carefully, annotating for meaning and strategy. Then, write one paragraph in which you analyze one of the rhetorical strategies President Lincoln uses to achieve his purpose. Support your analysis with specific references to the text. So, again, here is the address, and we're not going to reread it at this moment, but if you want to look back over that copy that you have already annotated and answered some questions about, you are welcome to do so. So let's look at some of the strategies that he uses. Well, we know Lincoln uses emotional diction, right? He uses the allusion to the Declaration of Independence. He uses repetition, imagery of life and death. He builds common ground with his audience through shared values, and he appeals to emotions of pride, honor, duty, and patriotism. So the first thing for you to do is to choose which strategy you want to write about, and then to really go back through the text itself and annotate for that. Now I'm going to model for you the strategy of ethos, or building credibility and connection with the audience. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find an example or some textual evidence in the speech that proves this strategy. Once again, ethos is building common ground with the audience and emphasizing shared values. Often, ethos is going to use first-person plural pronouns like us or we that bring the speaker and the audience together. So when I went back through the speech and I highlighted things that might appeal to ethos, I highlighted the phrase, "our fathers." I highlighted the phrase, "all men are created equal." "We are engaged in a great civil war." "We are met on a great battlefield." "We have come to dedicate." "It is for us, the living." "We resolve that a government by the people shall not perish from the earth." And the reason that I chose these is because all of these phrases connect Lincoln to his audience. He is reminding them that he is not in this battle alone. It is something that they are doing together, that they have this common history through their forefathers or the founding fathers, that they share this value of equality, that they have already been through this in the battles and the battle specifically at Gettysburg, and that they are coming to dedicate this land. But, of course, he goes on in that third paragraph to say that it's really not even something that they can do because in a very, holy and also tragic sense, that land has already been dedicated by those who have died there. So you go through and you pick your evidence. Then, when you go to write your paragraph, you're going to use this acronym SWEEP. Okay, so what does SWEEP stand for? First of all, it stands for strategy. What strategy does the author use? Why? Why does the author use this strategy? E, evidence. So you provide your textual evidence, in quotations. E, explain. Explain the evidence. And then P, purpose. How does the evidence help the author achieve his or her purpose? So here's an example of how I would put that all together. All right, so the strategy. I said that the strategy I'm writing about is ethos. So in my first sentence, I take a second to introduce the text that I'm writing about, and then to introduce the author, and finally to introduce the strategy. In his speech, the Gettysburg Address, Lincoln connects with his audience by continually building his ethos. All right, then I go on and write a sentence or two explaining why. Why does Lincoln want to build his ethos and connect with his audience? So I answer that. Lincoln builds his ethos to gain the trust and goodwill of his audience, right? He's trying to gain their trust. They're not going to listen to him or value what he says if they don't trust him. Even though he is the president and they are either soldiers or family members of those who died, he wants them to feel united in purpose. They will honor the dead by continuing to fight for a better nation. Okay? Then I go on and I say, okay, well, I want to prove that this is true, that this is something that he mentions in the speech. So I'm going to provide some direct textual evidence. I'm going to quote the Gettysburg Address. He mentions, quote, our fathers, and then I go on and provide an explanation. This E right here. Why does he mention our fathers? He mentions our fathers to remind his audience that they all, in one sense or another, are descendants of those who started a nation founded on the principle of freedom. Then I'm going to go back and provide some more evidence. Okay, so I'm going back and forth here. He alludes to the shared value that all men are created equal to remind them that one of the goals of the war is to bring about equality and to end slavery. He unites them under the purpose of equality. So again, I've explained it. Then I want to tie everything back up in a conclusion sentence for this paragraph. Overall, by using words like we and us, and by building on their shared love for equality and for the United States, Lincoln builds his credibility with the audience, ensuring that they too will continue to fight for the causes of liberty until the end of the Civil War. All right, so it gives us one complete paragraph by the time we've gone through this, and we have introduced our strategy in the first sentence. We have explained why the speaker, Lincoln, uses that strategy. We have provided evidence, in this case, 2 direct pieces of evidence. We have explained how those evidences work to support the purpose. And then we have reminded our readers why Lincoln used this, what was his purpose in using this strategy. So now it is your turn to try this. you will notice that in your rhetorical analysis assignment in Canvas, you have a place where you can download the rhetorical analysis template. So if you download that, open that up, you have a document that looks like this. And so you can go ahead and make some changes to this so that it fits your class, right? So your name. Let's just pretend that I'm a student named Sally Sunshine. So I'm going to type in my first name and my last name. I'm going to double click up here where it says last name. Type in my last name, Sunshine. So it's already got the last name and page number. I've got my class name here. I've got my teacher's name here. And of course, if you're in Miss Vickers' class, you could put Vickers, or if you're in Miss Sutherland's class, you put Miss Sutherland's name there. So the name of your teacher, and then you would put in this order the date and the month and the year that your assignment is due. So I think in this case we may say that this is due, I don't know, the 27th of January. Oops, January 2021. So notice I've typed this whole thing out. I've actually typed out the whole word January. I have not done Jan or anything like that. I haven't put any commas in. I haven't put any slashes or dashes. So that is MLA format. And this is a really formal format for writing English papers. It's the kind of format that you'll use when you go on to college to write English papers. So we want to get you accustomed to using that here early on in the semester. The next thing you would put would be the title. So this is the rhetorical analysis paragraph for the Gettysburg Address. You can make this more specific if you choose to. But the template includes several things that are going to make it easier for you to write this analysis. First of all, it introduces the speech, right? In his speech, the Gettysburg Address, and notice how I've put quotation marks around the title of the speech, comma, President Abraham Lincoln, so I've referenced who the speaker is, and then this is where you're going to insert the strategy you chose from the speech. So if you're going to talk about he appeals to pathos, he appeals to the emotions of his audience. If that's the strategy you're focusing on, that's what you would put here. If you're talking about the allusion or the reference that he makes to the Declaration of Independence, to the idea that all men are created equal there in the first paragraph, then you would say allusion here. Okay, in the next sentence, Lincoln uses this strategy too. This is the why. Remember, we said that we're using the sweep strategy. So strategy, why, evidence, explanation, and purpose, right? It's laid out through the course of this template. So why does he use this strategy? You can insert he says and provide a direct quote from the speech that supports that strategy, and then explain why he uses that strategy. And you may want to do this part right here a couple of times. You may have more than one piece of evidence to support the strategy, and that is actually a good thing. And then finally, you're going to get to your conclusion. Overall, Lincoln, and then you'd explain his purpose. Why does he use this strategy, and what makes it useful or convincing to his audience? So you have this model here that should hopefully help you. You have the example on the PowerPoint that you can always refer back to see how a completed paragraph looks. And you have the speech itself to refer to. You've got your teachers, you've got your classmates. So I know this seems like a lot to take in, but I think once you get the hang of it, you will enjoy it, and you will see the it's almost like you'll start to be able to break down, what is it that Lincoln is doing that makes him so persuasive, that makes him so memorable. So thank you and best to you. Bye.